Welcome to Backyards and Bevvies. Grab your favorite bevy, pull up a chair, and enjoy the ride. Hey, B&B fam. This podcast is sponsored to you by BetterHelp, H-E-L-P. Is there something getting in the way of your happiness? I know when I traveled the world, I had many days where BetterHelp's worldwide service of licensed professional therapists could have helped me speak to someone no matter where I was in the world about whatever was happening with my life, and with zero judgment. With their ability to match me with a therapist that best fits me, I know my mental health would have been way better back then. Believe me, I needed it. But I'm here to share a way for you to take back control of your mental health by telling you about BetterHelp's awesome services they have for you to talk with a pro about your life through their app or just online. Whether it is a video session or some simple messaging, their team is here to help. I went to check out the app for myself just to see how easy it was to use, and after a series of questions, I was told I would be able to start matching with a therapist in under 48 hours. And what is super rad is that it's affordable and they even offer financial aid too. So come join the 2 million users that have already been helped and gain back control of your mental health by visiting betterhelp.com/backyards for 10% off your first month. Remember, BetterHelp is therapy done securely online. Don't forget to use the special code BACKYARDS and let BetterHelp, H-E-L-P, help you to start living a happier life today. 1, 2, 3, go.
Woo!
Reminds me of that part on Super Troopers where they're chugging syrup.
1, 2, 3, do it.
Do it.
Yep.
Such a good movie.
Such a good movie.
Today, though, we are back outside. It's
Beautiful out.
Strangely beautiful.
It's like 70 degrees. Also, welcome to Backyards and Bevvies.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hi, you've stumbled upon Backyards and Bevvies, episode 47.
Yeah.
Wow, we're just moving along.
Crazy.
I know, we're coming up on 50.
Coming up
Quick.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty awesome, though. I mean, and a lot of it, I think, is because of the fact that we've just every day we've dedicated to doing something for the show or trying to make it better. And you know, we were doing our numbers the other day, and we've reached or broken 800,000 impressions.
We're almost at 800,000.
Almost.
Very close.
Which is really cool because, you know, when you look at
in less than a year.
Yeah, in less than a year. And when you look at our social media platforms, you know, we're not in the millions or the thousands or the, you know, we're sitting at a pretty steady, you know, 300, 250. I think one has 500, you know. So.
I think overall we're at about 1,400 total followers on social media. So to have almost 800,000 impressions is pretty amazing.
It is pretty cool. And we, you know, we've because of our hard work, you know, we've been rewarded. We have, you know, BetterHelp as a sponsor and Liquid IV as a sponsor and, you know, Earthworks has definitely been a giant promoter of ours.
Love Earthworks.
Yeah, these mics sound awesome. But it goes to show that I don't think really when you're trying to build something, it's not technically about the quantity at first. It's about quality and consistency, you know, and I think our quality is getting better. You know, every week
Definitely.
I try to EQ it a little bit better, cut it a little bit better, different camera angles, inside, outside, you know, all these different things. And as the days go, as the week goes on, you know, we don't have a weekend.
No, we really don't.
And it's not because we don't want to take a weekend, or it's not that we don't want to not, you know, just take a day off. We just are busy people, and we talk about it all the time on the show. And I think it's something good, though. It's healthy for us, you know, because our Sundays we go to church. That's like our relaxing day, but we're still doing stuff. We're either, you know, taking Maverick to go swim or, you know, or we're doing something around the house to make it better. Or, you know, there's
got to start getting ready for the next little one. Less than 6 weeks until she gets here.
I know. But the thing is, though, is that as we do all these things, the one thing that, you know, we're always fighting is other things.
Yeah. Very true.
And in the world of distractions, I think one of the biggest things that I think any person in this entire world, if they say that they're not a procrastinator at some point in their life, then they're a complete liar.
Yeah, 100%.
But we fight procrastination.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought today would be a really cool discussion because I know that I'm a giant procrastinator at times.
Same.
And I it doesn't plague me as much anymore because I've really figured out ways to combat it.
Mm-hmm.
But it still rears its ugly head from time to time, and it's annoying and hard to... Sometimes you really have to focus, and so today we're going to discuss a couple things that I think not only maybe you use, but things that I've read recently and heard recently that have helped me to focus on not only the show, but the project, the family, external family, just friends, day-to-day life.
Yeah.
The house, the dogs, the animals.
Everything.
So when you have a list like that, you tend to find that waking up at 4:30 in the morning, it's suddenly 4:30 in the afternoon very quickly.
Yeah, for sure.
And if I don't utilize that time wisely, it is 8:30 at night.
Yeah, and
even
all of
quicker.
a sudden you're like, oh dear.
And I'm like, wow, I did not sit down today.
Yep.
But so I guess to start, what to you, without looking at a dictionary or anything like that, what is procrastination to you?
I guess procrastination to me would be delaying the inevitable, delaying something that you know you need to get done.
Yeah.
It could be quite a few different reasons. I think laziness is definitely one reason, or delaying it because you feel like it'll be too time consuming.
Mm-hmm.
Or is tedious, so it's just not fun to do, or is difficult.
I think another one that I would add to that is you don't want to know the answer, or you don't want to see the outcome, because potentially the outcome's not going to go the way that
not
you
want. Not going to be what
wanted.
you want. Yeah, absolutely.
I've never actually looked up the definition of procrastination. I've just always been told to stop procrastinating. Or
I wonder what the actual definition is.
But I do think that it's interesting because I feel like each person has a different take on what procrastination is. And, procrastination to someone who's like a gym rat versus someone who's a coder could be way different because, a gym rat procrastination could be just how fast they get from machine to machine.
Yeah,
so it's
true.
more of a exponential, like how fast do I have to do this routine and how fast am I going to get done with my workout and how fast am I going to move on to this? And it's almost like a speed junkie.
I could see that.
As
in
opposed
one way.
to someone who is a methodical procrastinator who is, there really is no time frame, but they're finding themselves making something longer.
Yeah.
And it's not about speed now. It's just about doing it.
Absolutely. Do you want me to tell you what the official definition is?
Yeah, I would actually love it.
The official definition, and I feel pretty smart actually right now,
All right.
is the action of delaying or postponing something. So there doesn't have to be a reason behind it. Just the action of being a delay fish.
I was going to say the action of procrastinating.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think my whole life I didn't really think I was a procrastinator because I always felt like I was doing stuff. But you can be busy and
but
not
still
really
be procrastinating
and not really do anything. And
absolutely.
And I feel like
if you're avoiding the tasks that need to get done, just because you're super busy doing other things, you're still procrastinating because you're not doing the things that need to be done.
100%. And my Mexican side of the family used to always use the term mañana. And so it
ultimate procrastination.
Tomorrow.
I'll do it tomorrow.
I'll do it tomorrow. And I feel like that is so many of us when we look in our closets.
Oh, for sure.
And we're like, I really, really need to clean the bottom of my closet. My shoes look
Are you
like...
referring to the bottom of my side of the closet?
No, not at all.
Liar. I have enough going on. That I will keep delaying because there are more important things.
No, I think everybody's closet probably could go for, like even my drawers, let's just say, or anything that pertains to putting something into an organization. And it didn't really strike me until I was listening to, and I like Jordan Peterson, regardless of how people feel about his other things that he said. I think that he also has really, really good insight into how to become better every day.
Yeah, well, you don't listen to him for his political
and he's not
views.
Yeah, well,
you listen to him for his really like in-depth psychological analysis of things.
And I think that he's not necessarily political. I just think that sometimes his analysis of stuff is so deep that
it becomes political.
Well, no, it just makes people mad. So whatever, however you feel about him, that's beside the point. I listen to him because I think he really truly does help me pull issues that I'm having out and say, okay, well, how can I make something better? And I want to make myself better, and I want to make myself better for the family, for you, for my faith, for just my body in general, because it all ties together. And it's and by procrastinating, well, I'm being the most selfish I can be because I'm just doing it for me. I'm like, well, I could clean the house, but that's kind of hard, so I'm gonna look at this task over here and I'm gonna do this instead. But I'm doing that because it's better for me. So it's selfishness in a way too.
For sure.
So today I was rowing and I was listening to him talk, and it was really interesting because he put it in a very analytical mind, analysis way, and he was saying how it's the dopamine feeling of looking at a project and then looking at another project and saying, well, that one seems harder, but the other one's easier. But your brain is tricking you into believing that this one over here is going to be the harder task to complete today. So it's like, you look at your closet and you're like, oh, it's not that bad. You know what? I'm going to go outside and I'm going to sweep the patio. Even though the kitchen and the closets and all the other things could use some really good cleanup because they're just getting cluttered. You've seen a few leaves out there and you're like, you know what?
Yeah. I wonder if instant gratification plays a part in that a little bit as well, because like sweeping the patio, for example, you immediately have a result.
Yeah. Or you take a blower to it. And that's exactly what he's talking about. He said it's the dopamine release that allows your brain to start saying, oh, I did something pretty hard today. I was outside. It was hot. It was hot. It was, and then you allow yourself to really go down this hole of saying, I did something really good. And then the next time it comes up with the closet, you look at another task. And slowly the closet becomes the not so thing you really need to do, because it's really not that bad.
Right.
It's not that. There's not
and
that
much. And who
much
else is
stuff.
really seeing?
There's really not that much stuff in there. Well, that's a really, it kind of hit me because it was like, oh man, that's a very true thing. And I do this in the morning sometimes before my workouts. I procrastinate to before I row. Because I could row and be done with it and then be in the shower and be fully ready before little dude wakes up. I could.
Truth comes out.
I could if I really, really didn't procrastinate. But you know what happens? I get up and then I go do my other workout. And then in between the two workouts, I'm like, well, I need to check my email. And so, sometimes sitting on the john, you tend to find yourself with your legs up on the squatty potty.
Oh dear.
Like, oh, I should. Yeah, you know what? I checked the email. I deleted all the ones I don't need. Let me go back and check these one more time.
What if something else came in?
Oh, you know what? I need to read that one. Yeah, the weather today. That's important.
Super important.
Next, 5 minutes have gone by.
Yeah.
That 5 minutes, though it doesn't seem like a lot, but when you have a lot on your plate, that 5 minutes can really turn into something that is I'm a quick shower anyways, so that 5 minutes is a shower.
For sure.
So, that it really does, and it kind of struck me. I was like, man, I've never thought about procrastination that way, is that it's a dopamine release. That my brain is just tricking itself into thinking that whatever I'm doing right now is more important than what I really need to be doing.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's a fix for anything like that. I really don't.
I mean, the only fix really is discipline.
Ah, that is true. And what's funny is I have recently been really working on discipline.
You've been very disciplined in a lot of ways. Absolutely.
Yeah. But even as disciplined as I am, I still find procrastination, And what's interesting about it is it's something that doesn't just plague, let's just say, the poor or, the people who don't have a lot of money to have assistants and all these other things, or, it's the middle class, or, it's everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody
absolutely.
has a chance. Tall, white, black, you name it, someone's procrastinating.
Absolutely.
And so it's really interesting because it really boils down to the person. Because I could tell you how I don't procrastinate. But you could be different, though. And I think that it really is that discipline inside yourself that really takes a toll on people.
Yeah.
And allows people to then... And I love dopamine drops.
Who doesn't?
I mean, I love a good, pat myself on the back. That felt great. I did a
Go
good
me.
job. Go me today. I did a great job.
Yeah.
And, I'm going to say that most people do too. So,
Sure.
I mean, I don't know. What is your biggest procrastination, do you think?
Oh, I mean, I don't know if I could name one thing as a biggest procrastination, but...
Well, since you work, okay, so here's a good, sorry not to cut you off, but you have a pretty strict schedule, or not strict, but you have a pretty good schedule with work, right? So you go in around the same time every day, you get off around the same time every day. Though you don't have a structured day in the sense the same thing happens every day, I feel like when I had days where I had to work, my procrastination levels were less because I at least was okay, I have to be here by a certain time. I have to do this by a certain time. I have to finish this by a certain time. Do you think that working in an office gives you a chance for more procrastination?
I don't think necessarily a chance for more. I think it really just depends. I mean, it depends on what you do, certainly, and what your deadlines for things are like.
Yeah.
So, for example, we are working on getting stuff ready for touring for next year, for 2023.
Gotcha.
And I have to do all the planning for that. And it's an extensive amount of work.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I have to put together is this ticketing letter. And it is, 7 pages of information, very detailed information that basically helps the promoter and the ticketer, like Ticketmaster or something like that, build what each show at each venue is supposed to look like from a ticket sales perspective, so that we hold back the proper number of tickets to make sure that we don't sell every single seat available, because we're going to need some seats held back for radio and streaming partners, or for guests of the artist, or charity giveaways, or, any number of things. And I could get started on that ticketing letter. And I did get started on it this week. But I think one of the things that could be looked at as procrastination is, well, I don't have all the information that I need yet in order to complete this ticketing letter.
Yeah.
But I have enough to get 3/4 of it done. So I may as well just get that 3/4 done and then come back to it when I have the rest. But my brain is like, well, wouldn't it be easier and more efficient to do it when you have all of the information? You can knock it all out and move on to the next thing. And I don't know which one is better. So while I've been waiting for the additional information, I got started on it the other day and I was like, man, I really I don't want to have to keep coming back to this same thing over and over again, because I have other things that I need to be focusing on. So I'm going to focus on these other things and put this to the side until I have all the information, and then I can tackle it. So is that procrastination? In some ways.
In some ways,
sure. So I think, there's not necessarily a super clear, defined level of procrastination. I think it can vary. There can be small amounts and there can be really large amounts.
Yeah.
It just kind of depends on what you've got going on. So,
well, it's funny that you bring that up because I found myself actually yesterday waiting for a phone call. And it was a very the phone call was going to help with the technical issue we were having. And I found myself finishing the uploads for the socials a little bit early. And I was like, man, I got 30 minutes. Do I read? What do I do? There it set in. I should have just picked up the book, but I said, well, I'm gonna start reading.
Then I'll get interrupted, and
then I was like, well, maybe I should. Maybe I need to actually do a little bit of project work. And I was like, yeah, but that really only leaves me 30 minutes. I was like, okay, should I read? Now it's like 25 minutes.
And it's like,
and the whole time I'm still stuck in between. Like opening my phone, answering some text messages, looking at some emails, double checking the time, I just killed 5 minutes. I could have read. And I just started a new book, and it's one of the world's top 100 books ever written in Crime and Punishment. And
tough read.
It is a tough read. So I need every minute freaking get, and here I am wasting it. And sure enough, I kept, well, they're going to call any minute, and I'm on a new chapter. I don't want to just get like 2 paragraphs in.
Well, and that's a great example because, reading Crime and Punishment versus reading, I don't know, a Harry Potter book, let's say. Something that's like much easier to read and very easily grabs your attention, and you don't have to pay super, super close attention to a Harry Potter book in order to understand every single paragraph that is happening.
Yeah.
In Crime and Punishment.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's
intense.
Really, it is strenuous to read. It's obviously a great story, but there's so many details and so much that you don't know since it's set in like 1800 something in Russia. Like, so it's a culture that you don't understand and all this stuff. So it's like a perfect example of what Dr. Peterson was talking about is like, well, if you look at the tasks, you're reading a book.
Yeah.
Whether you're reading a Harry Potter book or the Dostoevsky book, you're reading a book. Harry Potter's a lot easier to read, so you probably wouldn't have procrastinated.
Probably not.
If you were reading that book, because reading for 20 minutes or 30 minutes for that, like, you could get through a whole bunch.
Yeah.
But to get into Crime and Punishment, you really need an hour.
Yeah. Well, it's dry.
To really get into it and get to a point where you're like, okay, I have absorbed this information. I'm mostly understanding this information. Otherwise, you're going to have to go back and reread it, which is just adding to your tasks. So your brain is like, well, that seems too hard right now in this time frame. So let's do something else.
That is I didn't even think about that, but that is exactly what he was talking about. Because, the character is someone that is a deep, dark character that
he's a thinker.
You would have to really reach inside yourself to put yourself into his shoes, as opposed to a fantasy story where you're riding on the back of a dragon and a broomstick and there's magic wands and you're like, oh, look at all this.
This is triggering my imagination. This is amazing.
Exactly. Where instead on the other one, you're like, he walked down a dark hall and you're like, oh.
Yeah. During a time period where I know nothing about it, in an area of the world that I know nothing about.
Very little. The only thing I know about it is I liked the vodka last time I was there, and I ended up in a freaking alley. But it is that, and it is hard to pull yourself together in those moments when you, and like I said, I found myself on tour never thinking about procrastination because as long as I got the task done by a certain time, whatever I did in between that time did not matter to me because I was getting paid. It was super easy for the most part. As long as I stuck through the junk, if it rained or sunshine or whatever was going on that day. Cool. Show happened at 7. No one can be mad. I didn't procrastinate.
Yeah.
And same with getting on the airplane the next day. It's like, okay, I made it to the flight. I got on the flight. Doesn't matter what I do now. If I have 30 beers and pass out in my room tonight.
Yeah.
As long as I wake up on time.
Well, I think in a job like that, like your previous career, it was very task oriented. Like step by step. I have to do this in order to do this next thing, in order to do this next thing, in order to reach this goal by this time on this day.
Yeah.
And I would say in a job where it doesn't have necessarily a step-by-step process that you follow every single day that you're working, it is much easier to procrastinate because you're already going in this like roundabout way to get from point A to point B in whatever task it is that you're working on randomly that day.
And I'm writing my whole... This is like... There's no structure. Like starting this podcast, there's not like I'd like opened up a thing and it was like there's how-tos, but it's not like, okay, on Mondays, make sure to do this. And then don't forget by this time. And I even looked at some stuff like that because when we first started, I was like, well, how are people hitting algorithms and how are people getting into this? And there are, I'm going to say there's too many people that try to tell you that there is some sort of magic trick to it.
Yeah, they're not.
I've posted at 10 a.m. on a Thursday, right at 10, and hit all the right things that I was supposed to hit, and 2 likes. Yeah.
A lot of it is random.
And that's not a complaint. It's just a lot of it, too, is consistency. A lot of it is just putting yourself out there, trying new things. But when you're a, let's just quote-unquote entrepreneur or whatever, or just doing it for the first time, I'm writing everything as we go. And even with the project, it's like, I've never done that. That's why we're enlisting people that have. But even then, each one that they've done before this is different.
It's different. Yeah.
There is no structure to some of this
stuff. Not a recipe.
And so, like my mornings, I mean, I... like a Swiss clock. I get out of bed at 4:20, close to 4:20 as possible. I'm like a Spanish Swiss clock.
Yeah, you're like
4:21. Yeah,
still close enough.
But I'm pretty I can look at the clock and know my day is like on point. But if I let that slide just a little, if I get that. You know what? I read a book recently, and I've been reading a lot. I love reading now. And it probably is the post-panoramic that I am just like, yes, this is something that I haven't done in a long time. It's engaging my imagination. It's hard. I'm not, because it's something I just never took time to do since I was... The minute my parents didn't make me read anymore...
You're like, I'm good.
And it was the school that was forcing me to do it. I was like, yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm going to listen to you. But now that I'm back in it, I was out of reading for 20-something years.
Yeah.
I think the only book I read in that time span was the Anthony Bourdain book. And that was the only thing that ever captivated my imagination. So yeah, now I'm like, okay, I am really, really, really just trying to better myself. And a lot of the stuff I read is better books or not better help books. Thanks for the sponsor of the book. But they are self-growing books.
Yeah.
There's no roadmap that they're putting in there, but it's saying, well, if you want to get to point A or B, whatever, well, this is how I did it, and I'm going to tell you my success story.
This worked for me.
And you can listen or not. And so I read this book recently. It's called The G Code, Ryan Stewman, and I follow him on, and I don't even know how I stumbled upon this guy, but he is one of the most motivational. He's pretty hardcore, and his
name is Hardcore Closer.
Yeah, his handle is Hardcore Closer, and it's pretty awesome because his stuff is definitely designed more for people who are in sales and stuff. But it's true life lessons though that he's talking about. He was a felon. He went through a really hard time. He grew his business, lost his business, and I think there's something to be said about people like that is because they tend to tell you really hard things that you don't want to hear, which are the truths that people procrastinate around.
Yeah.
And so I read his book. It's not a long one. It was like, I don't know, 200 pages, let's say. It's called The G Code. And one of the things that he brings up in there is something that I've really started to think about. It's called the force of average.
Mm-hmm.
And it is basically the procrastination side, just in a different
Catching
language.
up with you.
He explains it in many, many, many more forms. But the force of average is that same thing that we were just talking about with procrastination. There is no... it doesn't go after a certain race. It doesn't go after a certain gender. It doesn't go after tall, short, anything. It is across the board, rich, poor. And the thing that it does is it allows you to have that dopamine kick, like, I just moved this bottle right to where I wanted in the middle of the table. But maybe the bottle's not the right thing. I just grabbed it, so that's what I thought about it.
Okay.
But it's like a task. You're like, I need to organize the whole kitchen. But I really just organized 4 drawers. I did a good job.
Yeah, it's good enough.
It's good enough. And the force of average will allow you to get to a certain place in life. It's like working out again, too. It's like, I lost the 10 pounds. Well, you know what? Maybe today I can start to eat ice cream again. And it allows you to think that you're winning because you did win for a short period of time.
Right.
But the force of average will bring
relax.
You back to that point. It'll bring you back to your... He calls it the comfort zone. And if you live in the comfort zone, well, then you're
not pushing yourself.
You're not pushing yourself. You're being selfish in a lot of ways because you're not making yourself better, which then in turn is not making anyone around you better, which then in turn is making no one around them better. But if you push yourself to sometimes extremes, you will tend to find that your group of friends will get better potentially because you're engaging with them in a different way as opposed to like, hey, let's just go do this like we've always done for the last 20 years. It's never gotten us anywhere. And he calls it the force.
It's comfortable. Yeah.
And it's procrastination, though.
Yeah,
that is
I could definitely see that.
So, but his is called, or he uses the term, the force of average. And I really like that because we all say that we want to be great, but who's willing to really put forth the work?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I know that in the last 2 years, 2.5 years maybe now, is the first time in my life that I'm willing to put forth the work. And even inside of that, I'm going to say it's the last 1.5 years that I really took some of these people that I've listened to and took their advice and said, okay, well, if I'm going to not live the average life, and that doesn't mean it's bad.
Right.
But if I do want to travel again, if I do want to do things that I used to do again, but on my terms, then I'm going to have to step up my game.
Absolutely. There's a little spider floating in the air right here.
Oh.
You see him? Hello.
He's coming for you. All the spiders like you.
I don't know why. Go away. I don't even know what he's like attached to. Is he attached to me? He keeps like closer and closer to me.
It's called a spider web.
I know, but where is it? I guess to the umbrella? Maybe?
Yeah. To the sky.
Just a little guy.
The sky is falling.
Okay. Sorry, I just have to keep an eye on
Stop
him.
procrastinating.
I'm not procrastinating. This is not procrastination.
Is this fear?
Is self-preservation.
That little thing is not going to do anything to you.
Come on, dude.
He's in your hair now.
Nuh-uh.
Oh, yeah. All right. Stop procrastinating. Get back to the show.
You better tell me if he gets close.
I told you, he's in your hair.
No, he is not.
He is in your hair. Okay, so back to force of average.
Yeah.
But in my real honest opinion, though, I have always wanted more. Even when I toured, it used to drive me crazy because I would think like, oh, how could I get more? I remember one time I told you, and this is a silly story that I'm going to share with everyone because we do it to ourselves. We want riches and we want all these things, but a lot of times we're not willing to put forth the effort. And I'm not sitting here, there for a minute I thought maybe I wanted to be one of these, life coaches online and stuff like that. I don't. I just want to give people like advice that I'm going through, and if you like it,
this
cool.
Worked for
Yeah,
me.
whatever.
Hopefully it helps you.
But I always wanted more, but I never wanted to put forth the effort. And so in a way, it was a deeper force of average and a deeper procrastination, but I just didn't pay attention to it. I just thought that I was unlucky. Because that's a term that a lot of us like to fall to, is like, oh, my luck is horrible this week. It's
right.
Like, well, yeah, but you also slammed 30 beers last night, and
you didn't really set yourself up for success.
You kind of started the week off rough,
Right.
And like I said, we don't really look at a week as like a start and an end. We just kind of look at it as like, okay, well, today's Monday.
Right.
Cool. Let's start another Monday. But remember, I called you one time on tour, and I was like, all right, I think I found a way for me and you to become rich and be done with.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, all right, what is it? And I was like, I think I'm just going to be a DJ. I'm just going to I have this tattooed look. I think, like Instagram people like tattoos now. And I'd done no research. I'd never thought of anything.
You had a conversation with a friend.
I think I got high or something and thought that I could be the next Avicii. Actually, I'd probably watched
that documentary.
The documentary. I was like, oh, this is so easy.
I could do this.
And with TikToks and stuff like that, there is a giant possibility that you can do that. But here's the rub. Those people are doing it, and they're not procrastinating, though. They are really, really out there every day making content.
Right.
Uploading content. Creating more content. Uploading more content. That is not procrastination. That is hard work.
Very hard work.
And though we look at it like, oh, these freaking influencers and their easy,
a lot of work.
Easy life, it is not easy.
No.
It is time consuming and annoying. And the minute you slow down, you're just lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
You're done. So, but I looked at it as like, oh, all these people out here just making all this easy money.
You're like, all I have to do is put together playlists of good music and just play it. And I was like, babe, the successful DJs are not like wedding DJs where they just have a playlist and they hit the space bar and let it play. They're actually making music and getting artists to feature on their music. You're like, oh, yeah. If it was that easy, don't you think everybody would be doing
now,
it?
there's successful wedding DJs,
sure,
but they are.
But you weren't talking about being a wedding DJ. You were talking about being the next Calvin Harris.
Standing up on some stage and hitting a play button in Ibiza and pumping my fist. But it's silly because we do that to ourselves because we want these easy peasy, cheesy things to just come and I want to win the lottery.
Don't want to do the work.
Of course. Who doesn't want to win the lottery? Yeah. But is that going to solve all your problems? No. It's just going to give you different problems because you didn't understand. You get the money. What do you do with it? What do you do with $1 billion? If you want $1 billion, you would be... I mean, most people hopefully would go get a lawyer instantly.
Hopefully.
And then hopefully someone to manage their money.
Someone they could trust.
But if you don't have any money, who are you going to trust? Because the people that have really good CPAs or really good attorneys and really good stuff started at a very small level and they built trust with that person. Someone who just got $1 billion and you call up and you're like, hey,
I have all this money all of a sudden.
I see you're a lawyer. And they're like, oh, yeah, I charge $1,000 an hour.
You're like, well, I can afford it. It's
You're
fine.
just a number to them.
Yeah.
There's no relationship. I know as we come up, we have a guy that's taking care of us all the time. And he texts us and he's like, hey, guys, right now is a perfect time to deposit X amount of dollars into your whatever fund. Okay, cool. He has our back. We're not jillionaires.
No, very far from it.
We're thousandaires.
Maybe. Hundredaires.
But that's the point, though, is that it's all these things that we do are procrastinating because we're dreaming of getting to these points when the people who are getting to these points are not procrastinating.
Right.
And so it is a very weird trade-off, and it is a very hard trade-off. And the minute most people get a little bit of money, they lose it so fast, and they go back to that force of average kicks in, and they're right back to where they were because it came in so fast that they had no idea how to do it. And so
or appreciate it.
That's why,
and didn't make any actual changes to their lifestyle.
Exactly. And so that's why you see these Gary V's and these other, giant influencers, and they talk about consistency. Build your brand, but do it consistently over time. Build a good brand. Don't build just Like, we read a thing the other day where someone turned down, what was it, $20 million from a person because the deal just wasn't going good and didn't feel right.
Yeah.
He was like, money will come and go. He's like, but my integrity is worth way more than $20 million. And you read stories like that and people are like, how could you give up $20 million? And you're like, yeah, but if they asked you to go, like, once you sign that deal,
the BS that comes with it may not be worth it.
The BS that comes with it may not be worth it. And that is a giant thing to think about as you're going through your day, you know? Yeah. And so my procrastination is at a way smaller level right now.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that it's gone. I really have to focus day in, day out.
I don't know if anybody on this planet ever really gets rid of procrastination. But you can get it to a very minimal level and recognize how you react to certain situations where you have the desire to procrastinate and figure out how to combat that desire.
A lot of it, I think, is being honest. You know, we've touched on it before. You know, like some of the biggest keys to life are truth and honesty and integrity and all these things that a lot of us say we have. I say I have it, but there's days where I have to really check myself and be like, wait,
for sure.
Was that what I really?
Everybody does.
But I think that's what's good, though, is because having a support system like you, through the things that we've been through, too, makes us stronger. Because we're willing to tell each other the hard shit.
Yeah.
Like, straight up. Like, you call me on my bullshit, and I call you on your bullshit. And it is, some days we look at each other like, how could you say that? But then
it's like,
an hour later, we're like, thank you for saying that.
I appreciate that you said that. You got to go through it to grow through it.
Yeah. You know, and it's, we are probably at the best we've ever been.
100%.
But
no probably about it.
Doesn't mean that next week we turn around and all of a sudden we're throwing a freaking curveball by the big man upstairs because it's life.
Yeah. You never know what his plan is, but going through the tough stuff together and figuring out how to weather each storm that comes together is the key.
It's pretty wild. This has been a really fun talk because I know that I go through phases of procrastination too. Like,
same.
Like some months are just better months than others, and I know that it's fun to have this show because, you know, if you've been listening now for 47 shows, not only do we thank you, but and hopefully you didn't listen to them all because some of them are really bad.
They're not that bad.
But my point is, though, is that you've heard us talking about growing. And you know, right now I'm at the healthiest I've ever been. I'm rowing.
Mentally and physically.
Mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. I think
all across the board.
All across the board. But it's been really, really challenging, though. I just did my body fat analysis and my fat, and so when we started this podcast, I think I was roughly, I'm just gonna say 165, somewhere in there, 168, 165. Yeah. I forget the exact number right offhand.
It was close to 170, yeah.
But I just weighed myself. I'm 147.
Look at you!
Yeah, I did my fat thing, and I was 10% body fat.
It's amazing. My body fat right now is off the charts.
Your body fat?
My body fat.
My body fat.
My body fat right now is off the charts.
Like, oh my God, Julie.
I'm growing a baby. It's
fat,
okay.
My fat. I'm fat. But you're growing a baby.
Yeah, it's okay.
That's the point, though, is that, you know, like we are challenging ourselves in so many different ways every week, every day, every month, and I think it's really cool for the listeners. And, you know, granted, the show is growing, so hopefully we're helping more people and we're able to be like, look, we all go through really good times and we all go through really bad times.
Yeah.
And then we all go through average times. But it's loving all of those times. This is going to be hard to say, loving them equally. Because
you have to find a way to do that.
Because if you don't love what you went through when you were fat, you'll never appreciate it when you're skinny. And you'll never love, you know, if you didn't love when you're like broke, you'll never love when you're rich. Because neither one of those.
You to appreciate it.
Yeah, and neither one of those are going to fix it but knowing how to get there will allow you to, how they say, things come and go. Like material things come and go. Money comes and goes. but like knowing how to be without them is a really hard challenge. So,
It is.
So understanding when you procrastinate how to overcome those things is for you to figure out.
Yes.
But I can tell you though that mine really is having a why.
Mm-hmm.
It's looking at my lists, I should say, that are above my sink every morning and every night before I go to bed.
Yep.
It's looking at the photos on my lock screen and on my unlock screen.
Mm-hmm.
And looking at what's around me and saying, okay,
I'm doing this because of these things.
if I don't get my shit together right now, potentially this won't be as great.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, that's my one little bit of my take on how to combat procrastination is
I like it.
just take a look around at what you do have.
Mm-hmm. Be grateful.
Be grateful, but then think about,
and then push.
Push.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to want more.
Absolutely.
It's okay to want to have more money and have more life and have more time and have all the things, but just do it the right way.
Do it the right way.
Be kind. Be kind to people.
Yes.
No, but I really do appreciate you talking to me about this today because I think it was fun. I think it was not only fun, it was inspiring. It was informative.
Definitely.
Did you learn anything?
Absolutely. I never knew about the dopamine part or about what Dr. Peterson says and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
gonna go work on your closet.
No, but I am going to go work on our kids' rooms because that is a more important task. The closet is great. There's some shoes on the floor. Leave me alone.
I just love to give you a hard time.
You do. Vicious.
I do.
Mm-hmm.
No, but so thank you for swinging by this week for another midweek treat.
I thought you were thanking me for swinging by. I'm like, I live here.
You do live here.
I didn't swing by anything.
You do live in this lovely place. The grass has gotten greener.
It looks beautiful out.
Everything looked dead. It was wild. I was like, man, it sometimes our grass is more green in the winter than it is.
I know.
In the summer. It's wild.
Doing way better.
I guess that's what happens when you live in this kind of hot fog weather.
Hot fog weather.
But we also just want to say again, thank you to all of you for listening and listening to us ramble sometimes and listening to us talk about these fun issues. And if you ever have any questions or concerns, we do have to do 2 episodes eventually. We had another person reach out recently. It was like, you should do an episode on the evolution of drinking games.
Ooh, I love that idea. Let's do some research.
Well, her specific one was for Flip Cup.
Champ.
Well,
right
you are a champ. I think it was Flip Cup. Yeah, it was Flip Cup. But there's so many fun ones, and I was thinking about it after a shower one time. I was like, oh yeah, we could. I don't know them all, but I can only imagine that. Way back in the day, started. Well, in my day, the fun ones were Circle of Death or Asshole.
Asshole, yeah. I was thinking about that. Kings.
Yeah, card games seemed to be the big one. Then all of a sudden, I remember.
I think that the card game ones were also big when you were
high school,
underage.
Yeah.
High school is when we played those.
Because since I didn't go to a traditional college, I don't remember. Flip Cup
Flip Cup and beer pong were huge in college, for sure.
I learned about those, post me working at Hooters. I was like, oh, whoa, what are these
games? Yeah. Flip Cup, cornhole, beer pong, all big drinking games when I was in college. Yeah. But the card-based games were definitely big in high school. Because you were more likely to be just hanging out at somebody's house, in their basement.
It was all about chugging.
Chugging
beers.
Yeah, and you also couldn't drink as much back then as you could in college.
I don't know about you. I can put down some booze back in the day.
When I was in college.
Growing
in
up
high school, I was pretty good.
Growing up in El Paso, there was So this is
I digress.
Whole,
we'll start this over. Some other episode.
But that one, and then we still have to do the another conspiracy theory one. So people tended to like that one, and one of the ones that they were like, "Did we land on the moon?" So those are just
we shall discuss.
I know that sometimes we do fun ones and sometimes we do serious ones, but we thank you for always tuning into all of them. And thank you, BetterHelp.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Liquid IV. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Earthworks. Thank you,
everybody.
Everyone.
Have a wonderful week.
Have a wonderful week. Cheers, and here's to my lemon ginger energy multiplier CTT.
Woo!
Cellular transport technology.
There you go.
Cheers. Bottoms up.
Bottoms up.
Dang, gotta slam it on there.
Oh my goodness. All the energy.
It's actually delicious. It looks like you wouldn't want to drink it because it's green. But
tastes delicious.
Yeah. All right, thank you, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Cheers. Bye. Bye-bye.